I had a patient once, brilliant guy, successful, who couldn't eat lunch in the office cafeteria. Too anxious. When I asked him why, he said, "Everyone's watching me eat." So I said, "Did you watch anyone else eat today?" He goes quiet. No, exactly. Nobody's watching you. They're all too busy worrying that you're watching them. This is the insane game we all play, and I'm about to show you how to stop playing it completely. Look, here's what you're getting in the next 25 minutes. I'm going to show you the exact irrational beliefs that make you tense around people. Not theory, the actual thoughts running through your head that you probably don't even notice. Then I'm going to give you the specific tools I've used with thousands of people to dismantle those thoughts permanently. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending everything's fine. This is about challenging the horseshit your brain is feeding you with logic and evidence. Because here's the truth, you should be able to relax around people. It's your birthright. The only thing standing between you and that peace is a handful of irrational ideas you're treating like facts. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which thoughts to challenge, exactly how to challenge them, and exactly what to replace them with. You'll understand why your anxiety around people is actually a sign that you're thinking too much, not feeling too much. And you'll have a system, my system, for talking yourself down from anxiety in real time. This works. I've seen it work for people who couldn't leave their houses. I've seen it work for people who couldn't make eye contact. It'll work for you too, but only if you're willing to question some ideas you've been holding on to for years. Let's get started. You can't relax around people because you're operating on 3 irrational beliefs that feel true but aren't. These beliefs run automatically in your head, and until you identify them, they control you completely. I'm going to lay them out for you right now, and I guarantee you're going to recognize yourself in at least one of them, probably all 3. The first irrational belief is this: I absolutely must have everyone's approval. Now listen to that word, must. Not I'd like approval. Not approval would be nice, but I must have it. I need it. I can't survive without it. This is the big one. You've elevated approval from nice to have to absolutely necessary for survival. Your brain treats someone not liking you like a physical threat. Like if that person at the party doesn't smile at you, you're going to die. Here's the reality check. Billions of people exist. Most of them don't know you exist. And you're still alive. You're still breathing. You're still functioning. So clearly, you don't need everyone's approval to survive. But your brain doesn't know that because you keep telling it that you do. Every time you think I must have their approval, you're lying to yourself, and your body responds with anxiety because you've just told it that you're in danger. The word must is the problem. It creates anxiety automatically. When you demand something from the universe, when you insist that things absolutely have to be a certain way, and then they're not that way, you suffer. If you say, I must have this person's approval, and they don't give it, you're screwed. You've set yourself up for misery. But if you say, I'd prefer their approval, but I don't need it to be okay, then if they don't give it, you're disappointed, but you're fine. You survive. Preferences create mild disappointment. Demands create anxiety and rage. The second irrational belief, and this one's huge: if someone judges me negatively, it proves I'm defective. You're making someone else's opinion into objective truth about your worth. Think about how insane that is. Some person who has their own issues, their own preferences, their own bad day, forms an opinion about you, and you take that opinion and turn it into a fact about your value as a human being. Their judgment is about their preferences, their values, their mood, not your worth. Even if they're right about a flaw, even if you did something awkward or stupid, one flaw doesn't define you. You're committing what I call overgeneralization. You're taking one data point and making it everything. Someone thinks you're boring at a party, and suddenly you're a boring person forever in all contexts. That's not logic. That's catastrophic thinking. And here's the other thing. Even if someone judges you negatively, so what? Does that change who you are? Does it change your skills, your kindness, your history, your potential? No. It changes nothing except maybe your mood, and only if you let it. You're not the sum of other people's opinions. You're a complex, ever-changing human being who can't be accurately judged by anyone in a 5-minute interaction. The third irrational belief, I can't stand the discomfort of social anxiety. This is catastrophizing. You're treating discomfort like it's unbearable, like it's going to destroy you. But you can stand it. You're standing it right now. You've stood it 100 times before. Every time you felt anxious around people and survived, you've proven this belief wrong, but you keep believing it anyway. By telling yourself you can't stand it, you make it worse. You add a layer of anxiety on top of anxiety. You're anxious about the thing, and then you're anxious about being anxious. You're thinking, oh no, I'm feeling anxious. I can't handle this. I need to get out of here. And that thought makes the anxiety spike even higher. Discomfort is just discomfort. It's not dangerous. You're not going to die from feeling awkward. You're not going to lose your mind from feeling tense. It's just an uncomfortable feeling, and feelings pass. Now, why do these beliefs feel so true if they're irrational? Because they've been running so long, they've become automatic. You've thought these thoughts thousands of times. They're grooves in your brain. They're habits. And society reinforces them constantly with messages about fitting in, being liked, not standing out. Your brain also evolved to care about group belonging for survival. Back when we lived in tribes, being rejected could actually kill you. You needed the group to survive. So your brain developed this alarm system that goes off when it senses social rejection. But here's the thing. Evolution doesn't know you're not actually in danger anymore. Your brain is still running software from 10,000 years ago when being excluded from the tribe meant you'd get eaten by a bear. But you're not going to get eaten by a bear if someone at Starbucks thinks you're weird. Your brain just hasn't updated its threat detection system. That's why these beliefs feel true even though they're not. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Albert, I see these beliefs in myself. But how do I actually change them? That's where most people get stuck. They identify the problem, but don't know what to do next. Let me show you the exact process I've used for 50 years. You think people make you anxious. They don't. Your beliefs about people and what they think make you anxious. This is the ABC model, and once you get this, everything changes. Most people completely miss this. They think the event causes the feeling directly. It doesn't. There's a step in between that you're not noticing. A stands for activating event. This is what actually happens in objective reality. You walk into a room. Someone doesn't smile back at you. You're at a party. You have to speak in a meeting. The event is neutral. It's just stuff happening. A chair is a chair. A person is a person. A party is a gathering of humans. There's no inherent anxiety in any of these things. Most people think a cause is C, the event causes the feeling. That's why they say things like that party made me anxious or that person make me nervous. Wrong. Completely wrong. And this is why most anxiety advice doesn't work, because it's based on this fundamental misunderstanding. B stands for belief. This is what you tell yourself about the event. This is the step everyone misses. Between the event and your feeling, you have a thought. That thought interprets the event and gives it meaning. The event doesn't come pre-packaged with meaning. You assign the meaning with your thought. Examples. They think I'm boring. I'm going to embarrass myself. Everyone's judging me. I look stupid. They don't like me. I'm going to say something wrong. These thoughts happen so fast you don't even notice them. They're automatic, but they're there, and they're running the show. C stand for consequence. This is your emotional and behavioral response. This is the anxiety, the tension, the sweating, the racing heart, the urge to leave, the avoidance. Most people think it causes C directly. The party caused my anxiety. That person caused my nervousness. Actually, B causes C. Your belief about the event causes the feeling. The party didn't create the anxiety. Your belief about what people at the party were thinking about you created the anxiety. Change B, and C changes automatically. This is the most important thing I can teach you. Here's the proof this is true. Same event, different belief, different feeling. Two people at the exact same party. Person A thinks this is fun. I might meet someone interesting. I wonder what people are into. Person A feels relaxed, curious, maybe a little energized. Person B thinks everyone's judging me. I look awkward. I don't know what to say. They think I'm boring. Person B feels anxious, tense, wants to leave. Same party, same music, same people, same food, different beliefs, different feelings. The party didn't create the anxiety. The belief did. Or here's another example I use all the time. If someone calls you a purple elephant, do you get upset? No. Why not? Because you don't believe you're a purple elephant. You hear the words, you recognize they're nonsense, and you move on. But if someone calls you boring or stupid or awkward, you might get very upset. Why? Because you believe it might be true. Same mechanism, different belief, different reaction. The words don't have power. Your belief about the words has power. Why does this matter? Because you can't control A. You can't control other people. You can't control events. You can't control circumstances. People are going to do what they do. Events are going to happen. You have very little control over the external world. But you can control B. You can control what you tell yourself. You can control your interpretations, your beliefs, your thoughts. This means you have way more power than you think. Your anxiety is not happening to you. You're creating it with your thoughts. And if you're creating it, you can uncreate it. All right. So now you know your beliefs are creating your anxiety. The next question is, what the hell do you do about it? You can't just positive think your way out. That's garbage. Telling yourself I'm great. Everyone loves me when you don't believe it doesn't work. Your brain knows you're lying. You need to dispute your irrational beliefs. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, using the same method I taught therapists around the world. Disputing is the D in the ABCD model. This is where you actively challenge your irrational beliefs with evidence and logic. You argue with your own brain, and you win because you have reality on your side. Most people never do this. They just accept their thoughts as true. If they think everyone's judging me, they believe it without question. Don't do that. Question everything. Demand evidence. Be a lawyer cross-examining a hostile witness. Except the witness is your own irrational brain. Here are the disputing questions you must ask. Where's the evidence for this belief? Usually there isn't any. Your belief is based on assumption, not evidence. Where's the evidence against this belief? Usually there's tons. You've been in social situations before and survived. People haven't universally rejected you. What's the worst that could actually happen? And could I survive it? When you actually think this through, the worst-case scenario is usually just discomfort, not death. Is this belief helping me or hurting me? Always hurting. Irrational beliefs never help. They only create suffering. Am I confusing a preference with a necessity? Almost always yes. You want approval, you don't need it. Let me show you how to dispute each of the three big irrational beliefs. First one, I must have everyone's approval. Where's the evidence you must have everyone's approval? There isn't any. Evidence you've been disapproved of before and survived? Tons. You've had people not like you, and you're still here. You disapprove of some people, and they're still alive. It's completely normal. Where's the evidence you need approval to be okay? None. Billions of people you've never met don't approve of you because they don't know you exist, and you're fine. Logic challenge. It's mathematically impossible for everyone to approve of you. People have different values, different preferences, different tastes. Some people like quiet people. Some people like loud people. Some people like serious people. Some people like funny people. You can't be all things to all people. Trying to get everyone's approval is like trying to make everyone like the same flavor of ice cream. It's impossible and pointless. Replacement belief. I prefer approval, but I don't need it to be okay. See the difference? The word change from must to prefer is everything. A preference is something you want but can live without. A demand is something you think you need to survive. Preferences create mild disappointment when you don't get what you want. Demands create anxiety and rage and desperation. When you prefer approval but don't demand it, you can relax. If someone approves of you, great. If they don't, oh well, next. Second, irrational belief. Negative judgment proves I'm defective. Where's the evidence that one person's opinion proves anything about your worth? There isn't any. Evidence it's false. One person's opinion is just that, an opinion, not a fact. Opinions vary wildly. Same person. Some people love them. Some people hate them. Logic challenge. If someone thinks you're boring, does that make you boring to everyone? No. Does it make you boring objectively? No. It makes you boring to them in that moment, based on their subjective experience and preferences. That's it. Let's say someone at a party thinks you're boring. What does that actually mean? It means your conversation topics didn't align with their interests in that specific interaction. It doesn't mean you're inherently boring. Maybe they're into sports and you're into books. Maybe they had a headache. Maybe they were thinking about something else. Maybe they're just not your kind of person. Their judgment is information about the match between you and them, not a verdict on your value. Replacement belief. Some people will judge me negatively, and that's information about their preferences, not my worth. You're not your actions. You're not your mistakes. You're not other people's opinions. You're a complex, ever-changing human who contains multitudes. You can't be summed up by anyone's judgment. And even if you have a flaw, even if you are boring in some contexts or awkward sometimes, so what? Everyone has flaws. Having flaws doesn't make you defective. It makes you human. Third, irrational belief. I can't stand this discomfort. Where's the evidence you can't stand it? You're standing it right now. You've stood worse. Humans can stand almost anything. People survive wars, disease, loss, trauma. You can survive feeling awkward at a party. Evidence against this belief? Every time you felt uncomfortable and survived. Which is every time. Logic challenge. Can't stand means you die or go insane. Will you? No. You'll feel uncomfortable for a while, and then it'll pass, like every other uncomfortable feeling you've ever had. Replacement belief. This is uncomfortable, and I don't like it, but I can absolutely handle it. Discomfort is not danger. This is crucial. Your brain confuses the two. It feels bad, so it must be dangerous. Wrong. Lots of things feel bad that aren't dangerous. Exercise feels bad. Learning new things feels bad. Growth feels bad. Discomfort is often a sign you're doing something worthwhile, something that's stretching you. By accepting you can stand it, the intensity decreases. When you stop fighting the discomfort, when you stop catastrophizing about it, it loses power. How do you actually practice disputing? Here's what you do. Write down the situation. Meeting at work. Party on Saturday. Conversation with a neighbor. Then write down your automatic thought. They think I'm stupid. Everyone's judging me. I'm going to say something wrong. Then write down your feeling and rate its intensity. Anxiety, 8 out of 10. Then write, where's the evidence for this thought? Force yourself to answer honestly. Usually the answer is, there is no evidence. I'm just assuming. Then write, what's a more rational way to think about this? And you come up with something like, I don't know what they're thinking. They might not be thinking about me at all. Even if they're judging me, I can handle it. I prefer they liked me, but I don't need it. Do this repeatedly. It's like building a muscle. The first few times, it feels clunky and mechanical. But eventually, disputing becomes automatic. Eventually, an irrational thought pops up, and your brain immediately goes, where's the evidence for that? And the irrational thought loses power before it can create anxiety. Now here's where it gets interesting. Disputing works, but there's another piece most people never learn. You can actually go out there and deliberately prove your irrational beliefs wrong. This is called exposure, and when you combine it with disputing, you become unstoppable. Let me show you what I mean. You can dispute all day long, but nothing changes your beliefs faster than direct experience. Shame-attacking exercises are where you deliberately do something outside your comfort zone that violates your fear of judgment to prove you can handle disapproval and the world doesn't end. Now, when I say shame-attacking, I don't mean actually shameful things. I mean things that feel embarrassing to you, but aren't dangerous or harmful, just socially uncomfortable. What shame-attacking actually is deliberately doing something that triggers your fear of judgment. Not to humiliate yourself, but to collect evidence that you can survive disapproval. Examples: singing loudly in public, asking a silly question in a store, wearing mismatched clothes, talking to strangers, doing something clumsy on purpose. I famously did these myself. I wore a bathrobe on the subway. I announced train stops incorrectly just to see what would happen. I did ridiculous things deliberately to prove to myself that I could handle people thinking I was weird. Why does this work when other things don't? Your brain learns through experience, not logic alone. You can dispute all day, but if you never test your beliefs in the real world, part of you still believes them. When you survive the embarrassing thing, when you do the thing you feared and nothing terrible happens, your belief changes at a gut level. You collect evidence, I did the thing I feared. I felt uncomfortable. People maybe looked at me weird, and I'm fine. I didn't die. I didn't go insane. The world didn't end. After enough repetitions, your brain stops treating social disapproval as a threat. This is exposure therapy, but you're doing it deliberately and consciously. You're not waiting for anxiety-provoking situations to happen to you. You're creating them on purpose so you can practice handling them. You're taking control, and that shift from passive victim to active experimenter is huge for your confidence. How to start small? You don't have to go extreme right away. I'm not saying walk into your office tomorrow wearing a clown costume, although if you did, you'd probably learn a lot. Start with something mildly uncomfortable. Make eye contact with strangers for an extra second. Speak up in a meeting when you normally wouldn't. Ask a store employee a silly question. Wear a shirt that's a little bolder than you usually wear. The goal is to push your comfort zone just a little bit. Notice what happens. Usually nothing. People barely react. They might look at you for a second and then go back to their own lives. Because here's the secret. Nobody cares as much as you think they do. Everyone is too worried about themselves to spend much time judging you. And the few people who do judge you forget about it within minutes. This is the spotlight effect. You think everyone's watching you and focusing on you. They're not. They're thinking about themselves. The mindset while doing this, before you do the exercise, remind yourself this is an experiment. I'm testing whether my fears are rational. I'm collecting data. During the exercise, notice the discomfort. Say to yourself, I feel uncomfortable. That's expected. I can handle this. Dispute while you're in it. I prefer people not to judge me, but if they do, I'll be okay. After the exercise, review. I survived. The world didn't end. My fear was exaggerated. Most people didn't even notice or care. Separate discomfort, which you will feel, from danger, which doesn't exist. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to feel self-conscious. That's fine. That's the point. You're proving to yourself that those feelings won't kill you. And with repetition, those feelings get smaller and smaller. What you'll discover, most people don't care what you do. They're too focused on themselves, just like you used to be too focused on yourself. The ones that do judge you move on within seconds. They're not going home and thinking about you all night. The discomfort you feel decreases with repetition. The first time you do something uncomfortable, it's intense. The 10th time, it's barely noticeable. Your window of what feels unbearable shrinks dramatically. Things that used to terrify you become mildly annoying at worst. You become genuinely free when you prove you can handle disapproval. You stop needing permission from the world to be yourself. I had a patient with severe social anxiety who started by saying hello to strangers on the street. That was terrifying for her at first. Then she worked up to asking people for directions, then asking for directions in a silly voice, then singing a line from a song in a coffee shop. Each step, she proved she could handle it. Within 6 months, she was comfortable in almost any social situation. Why? Because she had mountains of evidence that disapproval wasn't dangerous. Okay, so you're disputing your beliefs, you're doing shame-attacking exercises, you're making progress. But here's what nobody tells you. Your brain is going to fight back. It's going to try to pull you back into old patterns. So you need to understand the common traps people fall into and how to avoid them. Let me walk you through the big ones. Progress isn't linear. You're going to have good days and bad days. Your brain will try to revert to old patterns because they're familiar, because they're habits, because change is hard. Understanding the common traps helps you catch yourself and course correct quickly instead of spiraling. Trap number 1, expecting perfection. You think I shouldn't feel anxious anymore. I've done the work. I know the tools. Why am I still anxious? Here's the truth. You're going to feel anxious sometimes. That's human. The goal isn't to never feel anxiety. The goal is to not let it control you. When you demand perfection, when you say, I must never feel anxious, you're creating more anxiety. You're back to irrational belief number 1. I must have this thing. Replace it with, I prefer not to feel anxious, but if I do, I can handle it. Progress means anxiety happens less often and passes more quickly, not that it never happens. Trap number 2, all or nothing thinking. I had one anxious moment, so I've failed. I'm back to square one. This is garbage. One setback doesn't erase your progress. This is another irrational belief in disguise. If I'm not perfect, I'm a failure. There's no middle ground in that thinking. Reality, you're learning a new skill, and skills take practice. You don't learn to play piano and then never hit a wrong note again. You hit wrong notes sometimes, and that's fine. It's part of the process. Replace I failed with I had a tough moment. What did I learn from it? Every anxious moment is data, not failure. What triggered it? What was I telling myself? What can I dispute next time? That's how you learn. That's how you get better. Beating yourself up for having anxiety is like beating yourself up for being human. It's pointless and it makes things worse. Trap number 3, seeking reassurance instead of disputing. You feel anxious, so you ask someone, do you think they like me? Was I okay? Did I say something wrong? And when they say you were fine, you feel better temporarily. But here's the problem. Seeking reassurance reinforces the belief that you need others' approval to be okay. Reassurance is a drug. It gives temporary relief, but doesn't solve the problem. In fact, it makes the problem worse because now you're dependent on external validation. Replace reassurance seeking with self-disputing. When you want to ask someone if you were okay, stop. Ask yourself instead, even if they didn't like me, am I okay? Yes. Even if I was awkward, am I a worthless person? No. Build your own internal validation system. Prove to yourself that you can handle uncertainty. You can tolerate not knowing what someone thought of you. That tolerance is freedom. Trap number 4, avoiding instead of exposing. When you feel anxious, your brain screams, get out of here. Leave the party. Skip the meeting. Cancel the plans. And leaving feels good in the moment. The anxiety drops immediately, but avoidance strengthens the fear long term. Every time you avoid, you teach your brain, this situation is dangerous. That's why we had to escape. Next time, the fear will be even stronger because you've confirmed that the situation is a threat. Replace avoidance with exposure. Stay in the situation. Dispute while you're there. Prove you can handle it. Every time you stay and tolerate the discomfort, you teach your brain, this situation isn't dangerous. I can handle this. The fear weakens. Yes, it's harder in the short term. Yes, you'll feel uncomfortable. But in the long term, you're building resilience and freedom. How to catch yourself in these traps. Notice when you're feeling worse instead of better. If you're doing the work and feeling worse, something's off. Ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? Check for the irrational beliefs. Must, can't stand, proves I'm defective. They sneak back in. They're sneaky. Dispute immediately. Where's the evidence? What's more rational? Remind yourself, this is a process. I'm getting better at this. Setbacks are normal and expected. They don't mean I'm failing. They mean I'm human. I had a patient who made huge progress, went from barely leaving her house to going to social events regularly, and then she had one bad day. One party where she felt really anxious. And she came into my office and said, I want to quit. This isn't working. I'm back where I started. I said, so you had a bad day? So what? You've had 50 good days in the last 2 months. One bad day doesn't erase that. Keep going. And she did. And she continued to improve because she didn't let one setback define her progress. All right, we've covered a lot. You know what's making you tense. You know how to dispute it. You know how to practice. And you know the traps to avoid. Now let me give you the daily practice that ties all this together, the routine that makes this stick. Knowing this stuff intellectually doesn't change you. You need daily practice. Here's the simple routine that embeds rational thinking into your life permanently. This is 10 minutes a day. You have 10 minutes. You spend more time than that scrolling social media. Use 10 minutes for this instead. Morning. Set your rational intention. 3 minutes. Before you start your day, before you check your phone, sit down with a piece of paper. Identify one situation where you typically feel tense around people. Maybe it's the morning meeting at work. Maybe it's lunch with coworkers. Maybe it's running into neighbors. Write down the irrational belief you usually have in that situation. They'll think I'm stupid. I have to impress them. I can't handle being judged. Then dispute it preemptively. Where's the evidence? What's more rational? Create your replacement thought. I prefer they like me, but if they don't, I can handle it. I'm going into this meeting to contribute, not to perform. This primes your brain. You're setting the rational tone for the day. You're preparing yourself to catch the irrational thought before it spirals. During the day, catch and dispute in real time. When you notice tension rising, when you feel that familiar anxiety creeping in, pause for 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds. Ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? Identify the irrational belief. It's usually one of the big three. Must have approval. Judgment proves I'm defective. Can't stand discomfort. Dispute it immediately. Is that true? Where's the evidence? Replace it with the rational alternative. I prefer X, but I don't need it. I can handle this discomfort. This takes practice. At first, you won't catch it until after the fact. You'll be anxious for 20 minutes and then realize, oh, I was thinking irrationally. That's fine. That's progress. Eventually, you'll catch in the moment. Then you'll catch it before it starts. That's when you know it's working. Evening, review and learn. 5 to 7 minutes. At the end of the day, write down one social interaction that made you anxious. Just one. Identify. What was the activating event? What was my belief? What was my consequence? So the event, I spoke up in the meeting. The belief, everyone thought my idea was stupid. The consequence, anxiety, felt my face get hot, wanted to disappear. Then dispute the belief. Where's the evidence everyone thought it was stupid? None. I'm assuming. What's more rational? Some people might have liked the idea. Some might not have. Either way, I contributed and I survived. Write the rational alternative. This is the E in ABCD, effective new belief. I prefer people like my idea, but even if they didn't, I'm okay. Note, what will I do differently next time? Next time, I'll dispute the thought in the moment instead of after. This reflection cements the learning. You're teaching your brain through repetition. Weekly, plan one shame-attacking exercise. Once a week, deliberately do something outside your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be extreme, just uncomfortable enough to challenge your fear of judgment. Before you do it, dispute your fears. What's the worst that happens? Can I handle it? Yes. After you do it, review what happened. Did I survive? What did I learn? Each exercise is proof that your irrational beliefs are wrong. Each exercise is evidence you're building. Stack enough evidence, and the old beliefs crumble completely. The compounding effect. Day 1, this feels mechanical and forced. You're going through the motions. That's fine. Week 2, you start catching irrational thoughts faster. You notice them sooner. Month 1, disputing becomes more automatic. You don't have to think as hard. The rational thoughts start popping up on their own. Month 3, you notice you're relaxed in situations that used to terrify you. You're at a party and you realize 20 minutes in, I'm not anxious. When did that happen? Month 6, rational thinking is your default. It's not something you have to work at anymore. It's just how you think now. This is how you rewire your brain. Consistency over time. Small daily actions that compound into massive change. I did this practice every single day for decades. Even at 90 years old, I was still disputing my irrational thoughts. Not because I was still anxious, but because it's mental hygiene. Just like you brush your teeth every day to prevent cavities, you dispute your irrational thoughts every day to prevent anxiety. It becomes a habit, a good habit that protects your peace. Look, we've covered everything you need. You've got the theory, the practice, the traps to avoid, and the daily routine. Now it's on you. And I want to be really clear about something before we finish. Let's recap what you now know that most people will never figure out. You know that the tension you feel around people isn't caused by them. It's caused by your irrational beliefs about what they think and what you need from them. You know the 3 big irrational beliefs that create social anxiety. I must have approval, judgment proves I'm defective, and I can't stand discomfort. All 3 are horseshit, and you know why now? You understand the ABC model. Events don't create your feelings. Your beliefs about events create your feelings. And because you control your beliefs, you have way more power than you thought. You've got the disputing questions. Where's the evidence? What's the worst that could happen? Am I confusing a preference with a necessity? These questions dismantle irrational thoughts like a wrecking ball. You know about shame attacking, that you can deliberately do uncomfortable things to prove your fears are overblown. And you know it works because you're building evidence through experience, not just thinking differently. You're aware of the traps: perfectionism, all-or-nothing thinking, reassurance-seeking, avoidance. You can spot these now and course correct. And you have the daily practice: morning intention, real-time disputing, evening review, weekly exposure. 10 minutes a day that will change your life if you actually do it. Here's what I want you to understand. You are not broken. You're not damaged. You're not fundamentally anxious. You've just been thinking irrationally, and nobody taught you how to think rationally. That's it. That's the whole problem. The tension you feel around people can end. Not someday. Soon. As soon as you start disputing your irrational beliefs and proving them wrong through experience. But you have to do the work. I can't do it for you. No one can. You have to catch your thoughts, challenge them, and expose yourself to the situations you've been avoiding. And here's the beautiful part. Every time you do this, you get a little bit freer. Every time you dispute a thought, it has less power. Every time you do the thing you're scared of and survive, your brain learns. You can relax around people. You can feel at ease. You can stop wasting energy on worrying about judgment that mostly doesn't exist and doesn't matter when it does. The only question is, will you? Now, if you're thinking, okay, Albert, I get it. But what do I do when I'm already in the middle of a spiral? When the anxiety is already here and I can't think straight? That's exactly what I cover in the next video. I'm going to show you the emergency disputing technique, the thing you do when you're in the moment, heart racing, mind spinning, and you need relief now. It's the technique I taught people to use in panic attacks, in job interviews, in Confront.